I'm doing this now with my father, and he would hate to hear this, but I show up early. When I tell him I'm going to come visit, I show up early oftentimes. Is he actually, because when he's prepared, or when your family member is prepared to see you, they're gotten cleaned up, buttoned up, and they put their package on, because that's your mom or your dad or your elder. That's their job in their mind, is to protect you. And there's the dynamic. That's my child. I don't want to be a burden or a bother.
Yeah.
And those crafty little parents of ours, they fib. They lie about the falls. My dad minimizes, and then he's got bruises all up and down. My mom did the same.
Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio Network. And I am here with Ellie Brown, who is the Vice President of Chateau Retirement in the Greater Puget Sound region in Seattle. And Ellie and I are talking about being the best support to a loved one as you start seeing signs. And we kind of did an overview in our first segment a little bit about, what goes on in families, the denial process, all of those things. But Ellie, welcome back to the show. And I would love to ask you about the signs. If somebody is spending time with a loved one, what are the kind of signs that might be triggered that it's time to be concerned?
Well, there's multiple. I can do both on a personal level and also as a professional, but I will say for my mom, her health was clearly in decline. She wasn't recovering as quickly from the colds. She was seemingly depressed at times. So that was a sign to me. Not as vibrant anymore. Then I started hearing about falls, but she was minimizing the falls. So I actually found for a long time that she was hiding quite a bit of her decline. And I'm doing this now with my father, and he would hate to hear this, but I show up early. When I tell him I'm going to come visit, I show up early oftentimes. Is he actually, because when he's prepared, or when your family member is prepared to see you, they're gotten cleaned up, buttoned up, and they put their package on, because that's your mom or your dad or your elder. That's their job in their mind, is to protect you.
Right.
So, and also their pride is, I don't want what's about to happen to me, where they find out that I actually am declining and probably looking at the next steps. So there's a combination of my own pain as the elder, who this is scary. I don't want to let go of my independence. I want to stay in my home. And then there's the family, there's the dynamic. That's my child. I don't want to be a burden or a bother.
Yeah.
And those crafty little parents of ours, they fib. They lie about the falls. My dad minimizes, and then he's got bruises all up and down. My mom did the same. And the compensation, the lack of sleeping, cognitive telling the same story over and over again, not remembering the short term going. But I don't think we pay enough attention to the appetite and the depression as well. So those are at least some significant signs. More doctor visits, more hospital visits, more that kind of thing.
Yeah. I know, like for my mom, I started seeing like really weird, of course, she was a child of the Depression, right? So, but my mother, if there was 1 tablespoon left of food, it would be in a container and it would be sitting there like forever in the refrigerator. It's like those were things that she didn't used to do, but there was this shift in, almost this feeling of I have to hang on to everything. And I knew that was just kind of retorting back to that depression mentality that she had kind of grown out of later, but then she went back to it. And there was also, like you're talking about, the same story over and over again. My mom was also, she was social, but, she got into a couple of car accidents, 2 car accidents in 1 year. Well, that was a red flag, and I still didn't. I thought, oh, well, that, she had an, explanation for both of them. But in the same token, for how many decades did she drive that I never knew of her to have a car accident? So those are things when we look at, just the early signs. This is out of character for my mom. This is not normal. And I think you're right. We tend to, throw them off of, oh, these are just isolated incidents. These are coincidences. And by the way, I have so many demands in my life. I have a husband, I have, grandchildren that I might be taking care of. So all of these things factor into this big thing. And mom and dad are over here in this sliver of situation. And we probably don't pay the mindful attention to it as what we should.
I feel like I say this so often, I'm going to trademark it, but I say it when I'm actually taking people on tours or when I'm coaching my teams, is I would love for our nation to redirect our thinking and shift the paradigm and not think that we have to wait till the hip's broken or the tragedy happens. I want to trademark, don't wait too late. So whether I'm talking to the 75 or 80-year-old couple that comes in and they're still very active, very independently mobile, still thriving, and everyone's just waiting for some kind of trauma to happen before they move in. And I always say, don't wait too late. And I say that to the kids as well, meaning, don't you want to be on the front end of this decision? Because once the falls start, we know statistically they continue to increase. Same with illnesses or decline. It's a progression. One cold can set you all the way back. So if we could start to think in terms of, why are we still talking about that this is the end of life versus a new chapter in life, to go enjoy at the front end of it, that you can actually move into a community, or if you need that, or have help in the home where you can still have hopes and dreams. It may look different, but this whole notion that it's a nursing home or senior living, or no, it's not. It's like a cruise ship on land,
Yes, it is.
Really is. So it's like, but even if it's not, senior living is not their end goal. At some point, people need help. And we're waiting too long to have the conversation or the plan. And we're putting the stick too high as far as, wait a minute. I hear this all the time. When mom breaks her hip, wait, what? When mom breaks her hip? If mom survives breaking her hip, so I think that's the signs we need to just be a little bit more open about discussing them, having discussions.
I remember, just, it was like, we waited way too long with my mother. And then what I ended up doing was I just handled it, quote unquote, which was, I visited a senior living community. I did all that stuff, Miss Type A personality here. And I said, okay, mom, I got it all set. This is what's going to happen. And of course, I did not give her a choice. I didn't take her values into consideration. I did not take her wishes into consideration. There was a lot of things that I should have done. And now looking back at retrospect, what I should have done is I should have said, Mom, I've been having some thoughts about your future. And what I'd love to do is set a time where you and I can sit down and talk about what your values are, what your wishes are. And let's set out a plan so that you're in the driver's seat, that you feel like this is your path. And I want to honor you. And I think even if we start that dialogue, like what you're talking about, Ellie, is really starting it early, having these discussions, then we have a path. I always tell people, you should be registered with a home care agency before you need it, because there could be a time where you have the flu and you need somebody to come in, or you fall and break your arm and you need help in the home, whatever that is. What the point is that you have somebody out there that will help you. And so everyone, Ellie and I, we're going to be right back right after this, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how families can help right after this. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.